I find seeds fascinating. Last year, we were preparing for spring planting, and I was teaching about seeds and how if you take this lifeless little dried up seed and if you place it in good soil, and if you position it where the early morning and afternoon sun pass overhead, and you give it the right amount of water, that seed will almost assuredly become what it was created to be. Now, I had a group of interns standing around that were listening, and one of them looked me in the eye and she said, "Darren, we are just like those seeds." And I said, "How so?" And she said, "Well, if we would have been planted where we had the things essential for us to grow, we too might have become what we were created to be." But she said, "We didn't have those things here, so most of us aren't at all what we were created to be." And I thought, wow, what a profound observation. And could it really be that simple? And if so, what are those things that we as people, as human beings, need to flourish? My name's Darren Babcock, and I'm the founder and executive director of Bonton Farms. We live and work in a neighborhood in South Dallas called Bonton. It has a reputation of being one of the worst neighborhoods in our city for reasons you might already imagine. High crime, violence, gangs, drugs, prostitution, high teen birth rates, and terrible health outcomes. About half our residents live below the poverty line, half our kids will not graduate from high school, and more than half of our men will go to prison by their 25th birthday. In 2012, my wife and I moved in with no plans other than to just try to be good neighbors. And as you might imagine, people started stopping by trying to figure out what we were doing there. We stood out. I was the only white guy that lived there at the time, and my wife, she's still the only Asian. And so we got a chance to tell a bit of our story. And in telling our story, sometimes they would tell a bit of theirs, but we would always end by saying the same thing. We have no idea if we have anything to offer or not, but if there were something we could do, what would it be? And for the first 6 months we lived there, every single person we met said jobs. So we made a deal with the people that said jobs were the greatest challenge in our neighborhood, and we set out to begin working together. We mowed yards and picked up trash and repaired fences and roofs and hauled off fallen tree limbs, anything that we could do to help our community be a better place while building resumes for the people doing the work. And no sooner than we got started, people started calling in sick, and we learned a really important lesson. You see things differently when you live somewhere than when you just visit. You don't see cancer. You don't see heart disease. You don't see diabetes. Those are things that happen to you on the inside. Our new neighbors were seriously sick, many of them literally sick and dying, and we had no idea. This isn't normal, at least not where we come from. And so it was then that we learned how food deserts affect the people that live in them, and how food, like living wage jobs, is another essential element to human flourishing. So we met again with our neighbors and we talked and we agreed that we would add growing our own food to the list of work we did. And with that, Bonton Farms was born with a mission as an agricultural intervention to restore lives, create jobs, and ignite hope. What started as a small garden on an abandoned lot next to our house quickly turned into the first urban farm in the city of Dallas, occupying almost an entire city block right there in our neighborhood. And 2 years ago, that farm expanded to include a 40-acre farm about 10 minutes away. This year, we will open the market at Bonton Farms, which is a neighborhood fresh food market and cafe with the same missions at the farm. And by all accounts, we've been successful. But in what matters most to us, people and their development, we've had some critical failures, especially early on. From the beginning, people showed up eager, developed quickly, ready to work and learn, and we were so encouraged. We might be 6 months or more into our relationship with them and something would just change. All of a sudden, they would just disappear. We wouldn't see or hear from them for weeks at a time. And after a few weeks, they would show back up, and we kept hearing the same stories over and over again. And they sounded something like this. I was staying with my auntie. She had 6 kids. She was barely getting by, and we were a burden on her. I didn't want to be a burden anymore. And so I've been bouncing around trying to find another place to stay. I'm sorry I didn't let you know, but I didn't have a ride over here. My phone's been cut off. And those failures, those challenges made us aware of another element of human flourishing, and that's safe, affordable housing. So 4 years ago, we started buying houses for the interns that were working at the farm to get their life on track, doing all that hard work, had a safe place to stay while they were doing so. And it's made all the difference. In fact, we now know that we're 82% more successful helping people get to the milestone of employment when we provide safe housing than when we don't. It's been so successful, in fact, that everybody now living in our transitional homes is working. The problem is, with base rent in our area at about $1,200 a month, there's no affordable place for them to transition to. So we began facing another problem. We met with dozens of for-profit and nonprofit partners to brainstorm about finding safe, affordable housing solutions in our neighborhood. And they came up with the most amazing solution, and we are so excited to share it with you today. This year, we will get to build 2 homes, one for men and one for women. Each home will consist of 3 separate parts. There will be a main house that's about 1,000 square feet and 2 300 square foot apartments on the back. For someone that's a little more mature, they're a little further down their life plan, and they have a little higher earning potential, they'll move into the main house and become the homeowner. For those interns that are graduated and now employed, they have the right to apply and move into one of the apartments. The apartments rent for $300 a month. Times 2, that money goes to pay the mortgage on the house. The homeowner is responsible for paying taxes and insurance. If we can build the houses for $125,000 each in just 15 years, that person that was previously functionally homeless will now own their home outright. If you take the net worth of the home and that rental income that no longer is needed to pay the mortgage becomes secondary mortgage, we can truly break the cycle of poverty in just 15 years. So like sun and soil and water are to seeds, living wage jobs, healthy food, and safe, affordable housing are to people. We don't assume that we have all the answers. Instead, we continue to follow the lead of our neighbors. But this we do know. Pressing forward for sustainable solutions that shatter the status quo is a must-do. Serving the people that are living in our most underserved neighborhoods and our most marginal people is just too important to do and too high of a price not to do it. Thank you very much.